Good evening. It is 7:30. I now call the East Lyme Zoning Commission meeting of September 15th, 2022 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Well, please ask that you silence your devices for me, please. Let's begin with a roll call. Mr. Dwyer. Here. Mr. Granitek. Present. Ms. Jet Harris.
Present.
Mr. Peck. Here. Ms. Thurlow.
Here.
Mr. Ginsburg is not with us tonight. Ms. Markovitz.
Here.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Mulholland.
Present.
Mr. Spang. Roseanne Hardy is not with us tonight. Begin tonight with public delegations. Public delegations is the time when members of the public are invited to speak to the commission on subject matters that are not on the agenda. Do we have any persons tonight speaking to do so? Seeing none, moving on.
Sorry,
Whoop.
I have one. I'm sorry about that.
Please step up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello. Oh, sorry. I'm Nick Menapace. I live at 38 Hope Street on Niantic. I hope a meeting for this one because I didn't get to see if this was added to the agenda or anything for later. But I just wanted to voice the concern I had, and a second part, if that's all right. There was simply a question about some of the development we'll have over here. But I had wanted to voice an issue that I hope that the zoning meeting is considering, and I do say that in the sense that I really don't know, but I was worried about some of the rumors that I heard, and I know, as Mr. Donovan said, it's always usually just rumors, but I wanted to make sure because some of the new hearings I've heard about development, and especially when it concerns to some of the area that we have that's, well, wetlands, and some of the expansions for, I don't know, we have for some of these gas stations, but I suppose it's more than that because it's we call it automotive stations as well. And I'm just very concerned for some of our, well, for our community here. I want to make sure that we're a place that's still desirable for people to come to in the beach. And I've seen some of the reports about the level of pollutants that have gotten into the water. And I really want to make sure that the committee is very seriously considering the recommendations from the Wetlands Committee, which I'm sure you guys are. But I worry about some of these gas stations in the way that they might be expanding and the potential for spillage in there. I know that you guys are do your utmost work and the best of it, but it is definitely something when I heard about the considerations for the expansion of the, I believe it's the Citgo, or maybe it was this, yeah, the Citgo over on near the 95, that had concerned me because it is so close to the wetlands. And
May I ask what you heard and where you heard it?
I had heard and of the rumor of the expansion that Citgo may have, like, just make a larger parking lot for itself.
So that's a may.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am not saying for this one. I just was concerned because I had also heard about the relocation of the mobile, which that one I did not believe was true, but I was like, I told them, I don't think that's it. No, it's definitely putting around. I had heard that from
So what is your concern?
My concern, yes. Sorry, my concern is simply that we are making sure that we are, well, worried about, or not worried, I suppose, planning for what will be happening for our wetlands.
As the staff, let me just share with you that we have a set of zoning regs that have been adopted for a long, many-year term. We have aquifer protection, which this board sits as the aquifer protection board. The Wetlands Commission is independent, does not make recommendations to this board. They have their own set of laws based on the state statutes as does zoning, so they're separate entities. This board is very conscientious historically about gasoline service stations, as is everybody in the community, as is the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
Has extensive regulations. So, you know, I don't know who you've spoken to. If you haven't spoken, I don't recognize you. I haven't seen you in my office.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you come in and chat anytime and get you up to speed so that you're aware of what the rules and regs are, which might give you a broader overlook, broader picture this might make you more comfortable to
Yeah.
know that what we're doing and not doing.
I do appreciate that. I will say that I had spoken to that one because I have been speaking to a lot of individuals as I go around that I wouldn't say necessarily that I am like on a permanent relationship, but I am seeing them at their homes. Mr.
Before
Yeah.
under the zoning, well, we have the actual protection agency regulation.
Yeah.
We also take care of,
Oh, no, Mr. Dwight, I am very firm that the zoning board is going to make sure that they are having that in the best consideration.
Right.
I just wanted to voice it because that is something that someone had voiced to me about a concern, and I had to tell them that I was not sure and was not aware. And so
Mr.
that's
Menapee,
what,
I will
yeah.
fill you in on a quick little thing
Yes.
here. Just, I know all these are coming to you
Yes.
because of your walkabout, quote unquote. As a commission, I'm pretty sure we can all speak,
no.
we drill them pretty hard, and we are on the aquifer protection.
Yes.
And you talk about gas stations and such like that. For instance, like there's gas stations which they are so well protected, especially being over aquifer. Even
Yes.
the new development that's coming in there, close to the area,
Yeah.
the regulations that they have to meet and that commission agrees to, they have to stick by. So they can't change anything like that. So my suggestion to you is if you do have any more questions for the commission, go in and see staff,
Yeah.
and he can lead you in the right direction.
Yes, and I have one that is unrelated to that whatsoever that someone had brought up to me today, which was simply they had wanted to know with the 95 changes that will be happening over here, if there was anything that was going to be done about noise reduction. And I told them that I have no idea how you reduce noise from a highway, but I don't know if that is something in plan of putting up I don't know if there's,
It does
yeah.
state.
Okay, that was kind of what I told them. It's like, I'm pretty sure that if that was an idea that someone had, that we would know it. I'm like, I told them I'm going to the meeting. I will make sure to ask.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
With all
that.
due respect, if you run into those folks, have them call us so they can
Yeah.
get directly from us.
That is the same thing that I told them, but I did tell them I would be here tonight and I would ask.
There's
Yes.
also a map of the project downstairs.
Yes, and I did believe I told them that we can look up that one online because we were talking about it, but they said there were concerns there. I don't want to take up any more of your
No, I'm
guys'
just
time.
making sure I'm recording.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because when I go into, I don't know the answer to some of these things, so I wanted to make sure that the committee was at least aware of that concern, and I appreciate that. All right, that's all I have,
Yeah.
though.
We're
Thank
the
you.
point of despair. We're right up there.
All right, I appreciate Mr. Dwyer, I do.
With all due respect, one last comment to alleviate your fears. Chico is not expanding their
Yeah.
gasoline service station.
Great. All right,
Because they were in my office today.
yeah.
They will not be adding more fuel, more tanks, or anything like that.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manapace. Anyone else? Very good. Okay, moving on to item number 2, public hearing. Application of Theodore A. Harris, Esquire, for a special permit for a landscape service company per section 8.2.1 and section 25.5 at 23 Black Point Road, East Lyme, Assessor's Map 11.4, lots 172-1, 173 partially. Note for the record, legal ad has been run, Mr. Mulholland.
Yes, correct.
I
It's all
will-
the signs also been posted.
Thank you, sir. I would ask the secretary to please read the memo.
September 15th, 2022, East Lyme Zoning Commission from William Mulholland regarding special permit application Landscape Service Company, 23 Black Point Road. As you may recall, in October of 2021, this commission approved a text amendment to section 8.2 and 25.5 to allow a landscaping service company in the CA zone with a special permit, subject to the requirements of section 25.5 CA zone. At this time, the applicant has returned to apply for the special permit to locate and operate a landscaping business from the 25 Black Point Road property. The applicant, Christopher M. Manwaring, resides at 23 Black Point Road. The actual location of the proposed business is a back lot to the rear of 23 Black Point Road. The subject parcel consists of 23,000 square feet in area and is essentially a flat lot. The applicant proposes to construct a 36 by 80-foot building to house the landscaping business, which will architecturally resemble a barn and be one story. There are 10 parking spaces with room for more designated parking if it becomes necessary. All landscaping materials and machinery will be stored within the building. An architectural fence will be installed along the southerly boundary. The westerly and northerly buffers will be planted with evergreens as required by East Lyme zoning regulations. Exterior lighting will be minimal. Drainage will be addressed by the applicant's engineer.
Thank you, Ms. Thurlow. This time I introduce Mr. Harris.
Good evening. I'm going to apologize in advance. I have allergies and my voice is pretty weak. As you heard from Bill, this is an application for a landscape services company at 25 Black Point Road. As Bill mentioned, the sign has been posted at least 15 days prior to this application. This facility is going to be administrative and storage. There's a satellite facility Chris has remotely, and that will contain the landscaping facilities and storage for the landscaping facilities. Excuse me.
Would you like some water?
I have some. It also will have the major equipment at this remote location. You will note when Bobby reviews the site plan, there's also a lot line revision incorporated in this application. To the rear of the property, there's a swap between his father to basically square off the rear of the property, one for one trade of property. As Bill mentioned, there's standards in 25.5, and I'll just review this quickly. All landscaping materials and machinery will be inside. And in this case, there will be little landscaping materials in this location because of the remote location, but machinery will be inside, and to the extent there may be minor portions of landscaping materials. Office space may have minimum office space is 20% of the interior area, and Bobby will show you that percentage as well. Outdoor parking was limited to pickup trucks and passenger cars, and again, because of the remote location, this fits well with this facility. And in terms of the number of spaces, the requirement would be 8. We have 10 spaces, and as Bill noted, there are additional spaces which would be available if needed. I'd like to mention the shape of the lot. This is a rear lot with a 25-foot access way. Excuse me.
Take your time, Mr. Harris. If they want anybody to lose a voice, it's mine, so just,
Yeah, well, this is new to me. Um, there are buffer requirements, and as Bill mentioned, we propose that the normal buffer requirements along the western and northern boundary, but because the throat is 25 feet wide and the driveway requirements are 24 feet wide, we propose an architectural fence along the southern boundary, and that's allowed by 24(6)(E)(3). Finally, there's a sidewalk requirement. There's no sidewalks on this side of the street. There are sidewalks on the opposite side of the street. We have 25 foot of frontage, which is the driveway, essentially. It seems silly to require a sidewalk isolated, and particularly since it's just a driveway. So we request that the sidewalk be waived as allowed by section 24.6. And I'll have Bobby review the site plan with you, and then we'll wrap up.
thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Fanner.
Robert Fanner from J. Robert Fanner and Associates. The first thing I'm going to just hand out, this has to do, everybody can hear me, I have a pretty good voice, so hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm just going to hand these out. This is just for our sidewalk waiver. This is just the town GIS showing that the sidewalks exist on the other side of the road, directly across from us.
It hurts me to say this, but I enjoy it.
Mr. Chairman?
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse me. We pay taxes too.
should we mark this as an exhibit?
Oh, I got two left, actually.
I
I'm
need
sorry.
one. Thank you.
You can mark this as an exhibit. Number 1, please.
Thank you.
Bill, did you hear what I said?
Yes.
No, I mean, agreeing with him? Or you won't? Bobby, you got one more by the chance?
I don't. That's all I have. I gave one to the secretary.
Do you need another one? You can take mine, Terry.
So the sidewalk on the other side of the road runs basically all along Black Point Road there.
Thank you.
Ted was talking about our lot here. So the lot, this is the flag portion of the lot, and then it opens up in the back here. This is Mr. Manoring's house where he resides in the front. This is the new barn proposal in the back. The driveway will come in. Basically, he's going to share a portion of this driveway with his home. They have parking off of the 24-foot portion. That is going to be the driveway for the business, but they have room to park on the other side. They have a small garage there for their residents. We've got parking on this side of the building, and then on the back side of the building, a driveway coming along the back, and this is two-way traffic in and out. We have good sight line on this road. There's no issues there. It's a fairly straight road in both directions to give adequate sight line. Drainage, again, the lot is fairly flat, but it has some slope, and actually the lot is almost a bowl in itself. This is sheet 3. You guys have plans that's right up. So right now there's kind of a low spot right here where everything drains to. So what we've done is we've incorporated into this plan, we've put a swale along the front of the building to catch drainage off the building and off the rest of the lot. That swale feeds down to a dry well that we've installed. So this driveway comes in, slopes down from the road, and this slopes down to a dry well here. We have very good soils in this area. We're very gravelly and very sandy, so we get very good infiltration of the water. We have a portion of the back of the lot that slopes in the opposite direction. So we've installed a rain garden off the back of the parking, or actually this is the driveway, not the parking, but the parking lot. So we have a small rain garden in the back here to take care of that drainage in the back section. Sheet 4, this is our lighting and landscaping plan. As Mr. Harris had spoken about, where our driveway comes in, we have a 25-foot access way and a 24-foot driveway. So trying to plant the arborvitaes along that property line, they'd be right on the edge of the driveway, and obviously as they grow, they're going to encroach onto the driveway. So we proposed to put up a 6-foot fence along the edge of the driveway, and then when the driveway starts to peel away from the property line, we've picked up with the arborvitaes planted along the property line. We spec'd on there to be planted.
What kind of fence, Bobby? I know you said architectural, just vinyl, cedar?
Stockade fence. We haven't actually picked out the fence yet, but it'll be some kind of a stockade fence. The arborvitaes we have, we're having 10 foot on center and 6 foot tall at the time of planting. So there will be an 6 foot tall tree there. We do have some existing vegetation along the perimeter that we'll try to maintain. There's a few that are actually within the parking that obviously will have to be removed. We have a rather large species tree out there that we're going to save. We have another one in the backyard here that we can save. However, there are some in the middle of the building that obviously will have to go. Water, sewer, we have access to both of those from the town. We'll be taking our water access down the driveway. Our sewer access, we're going to actually access through Mr. Moore's existing home lot into a shared sewer connection on the north side of his house or northeast side of his house. We've already got the okay from the water and sewer department to do a shared connection there. The lighting on the building. We've got lighting basically on 3 sides of the building. We have an, I'll pull up this. These are some architectural renderings that the architect did for us. So this is looking kind of at the back side of the building. So the driveway comes in, and this would be the first door you would see here. This is the back where the parking lot is. She has green on the ground, but obviously it's going to be grass there. It's actually going to be a parking area. The building is a representation of the building. And the lights that we're proposing on their building are a gooseneck type light. So it's a direct down light. And it's a very soft light. Again, we don't have storage areas outside here where we have materials outside that we need to see. We don't operate at night. So really the lights are for access to the building. We have them located at the doors.
And they're not going to be on 24 either, right?
No. And again, very soft down lighting. And like I said, where we don't have doors, we don't have any lights. So we just put enough to light up the doors, just like most houses would have, so you have access to the doors. The building itself, again, trying to make it look like a barn. Again, this is one of our client's concerns was it's in his backyard as well.
I see the cupolas.
Yeah, so, and he wanted the ability that at some time when he gets older and he retires, that this could look like it belongs with his house if he no longer runs the business and use it as his large garage for his house or something when he retires. Again, to fit into his backyard, so it kind of looked like it wasn't a commercial building in his backyard. These are the architectural actual plans for the building. So the total height of the building to the peak, which is not how we calculate our height of the building, but it is the actual physical height of the building, is about 21'7". So not an overly large building as far as height goes for the zone. The actual height of the building as calculated for zoning is 17 feet, and we're allowed 30 feet in the zone.
You're taking half of the overhead.
Right, it's halfway up from the ridge to the
But the actual height, that's a building height. What's the visual height?
That's what I said before. It was 21'7" from ground to the peak.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. Thank you.
Not a problem. So we have the office space on this side. So this is our office, and he's got a little area in here for storage for the office. His office area in here. We other side here, we've got the 4 views of the building, 2 gable ends, and this is the one gable end that you see when you come in the driveway. This is the gable, and the passive is facing basically north. This is the similar rendering that we have here, large. And this is more of a layout showing the office, storage, bathroom, a little locker setup for everyone to put their stuff that is there. One of the things that Mr. Harris was talking about is that, you know, his employees that he has that do most of the work, the actual guys that are out there cutting along, planting the trees and stuff, they actually all report to the remote site that they have. Most of the work that they do is in Old Black Point. They've been caretakers in Old Black Point. They get third generation minorities that have been taking care of the homes in Old Black Point. They do some in Black Point as well. But they all go to that remote site. That's where they all report in the morning before they go, and then they all get on their lawnmowers and grab their weed whackers and go. So they're not reporting here. Again, this facility is a place where he can store that equipment in the off-season indoors. If he needs to do repairs on a piece of equipment or something, he has something indoors to do it. Again, we're not storing stuff on the outside of the building. Everything goes inside the building. So the outside of the building is simply...
So no materials are going to be there, etc., right?
Anything that gets dropped off there, it might be outside while it gets dropped off, and then we ship it inside. So that's why we have the two large doors here, so we can get vehicles into the building.
Oh, you and Mayor Gordon covered it, just writing something down. What is the surface area for the driveway parking area?
So at this time, what we've proposed is to pave the first portion of the driveway until it opens up, and then we're going to do millings on the back section. So millings are basically the ground up pavement. When you see those big machines on the road grinding up the pavement, we get that material from them, and you can take that and reapply it to your driveway. And basically what happens is over time, as the traffic starts, it actually turns back into an actual asphalt surface. At some point, he would like to pave it, but it's kind of an extensive area, so for now, he wants to just do millings. It's a low cost. It's an extensive building for him. So we're going to pave the beginning portion so we don't have any tracking out in the road and stuff, and then this will be the millings, which again, takes about, I have them on my house, after about 2 years, they become pretty sandwiched in like an asphalt driveway.
And since we're going to do some paving, what are we doing with drainage?
Didn't you hear me? I went over drainage for 5 minutes.
Just not paying attention to you, I apologize.
You let me go over it again? I'll go over it
I
again.
was assisting in the motion yet to be discussed.
So for the drainage, we did a drainage swale along the front of the building to a dry well for infiltration, and then in the back. So this part of the driveway drains this way, and everything drains into here. Small portion of this drains backwards. So we install the rain garden in here. With all the drainage, we'll go into that, and then seep into the ground there, and that will be a planted rain garden.
Thank you, wanted to make sure we covered it, and it was on the record.
Yeah. So there's no storage of salt or anything on there, right? For snow plowing? Okay.
Those are people in Black Point right there in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Any like large amounts of fuel storage or for?
No fuel tanks.
No outside fuel tanks, gasoline tanks.
How early in the morning and how late at night will any employees be coming in and out of the garage?
Did we ever get an hour of operation from them? I imagine that they probably start at 7 o'clock, but I can't see.
Generally speaking, somebody who was in the field,
6
it's
o'clock,
early, yeah,
7
generally sometimes it's like as
3.
early as 6, 3, 6 to
Yeah,
5.
but again, I mean, the main employees don't come here. This is more of the office staff and stuff, so they're not starting at the crack of dawn, although obviously he probably does.
And it's been your testimony that cars and pickup trucks, not dump trucks, not
It's limited to cars and
heavy
pickup
equipment,
to
heavy
trucks.
landscaping equipment.
No trailers, nothing like that, other than maintenance, right?
Right, he might bring one in here to put it in the garage.
So when we start flying the drones over the property, we won't see a lot of trailers parked.
I didn't see any trailers parked.
You could pump it in your truck, I'm sorry.
Don't forget, it's next to his house.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I grew up in the construction business, I know what contractors do.
I just-
running late on a Friday and you're exhausted at 7 o'clock, well, I'll move it tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes Tuesday.
Yeah. But again, most of that stuff stays at the remote site.
we just want to make sure we discuss it.
Yep.
I know your applicant's very responsible, but there may be future applicants that may not be so we want to make sure we put everything in the record, cover those bases, and go from there.
All right. Any questions from the commission?
I do actually.
Ms. Jen Harris. Bobby, turn the microphone towards you for me, please. Thank you.
The other, Terry G asked if there was any gas going to be stored on site. What about other chemicals? Is there going to be other chemicals that are going to be stored there?
They certainly would have some chemicals that would come there as far as, fertilizers and stuff. But again, whatever is allowed in the regulations, I know there's some very strict requirements on what they can keep there. But
This is not an aquifer protection area, so that's not our primary concern, but we want to know what's around, too. So it's a very good question.
Okay.
And so, as testified earlier, all materials would be stored inside. I'm going to assume there's a concrete floor with a 6-inch.
there's an entire concrete floor
There'll be
there.
a 4 to 6 inch lip so that you can get the shoes onto the foundation.
And there's no drainage inside?
No
for
internal.
like washing vehicles, some places have okay.
No internal drains.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Maybe I have an old thing here, but 821 is supposed to be recreation buildings. What am I missing here?
What was that? I'm sorry.
821.
They're having fun while they work, Bill.
Commercial facilities which provide indoor recreation such as assembly halls, dance halls, bowling alleys, video arcades, and similar places of public recreation operated as a business.
Am I missing
So
something?
the text amendment was made.
Yeah, that may be
That may not have gotten into his book. He may have an old book,
yeah.
which is what I suspect.
Are you looking that up right now,
Text
Mr.
memo was
Wallen?
21 October.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jen didn't even update even my book's not updated. But we
That
did
was
do the
not
text
22 and
amendment, and it is a
25.5.
permitted use by special permit.
Yeah, mine's not up to date either, but it's marked to me. Okay.
But I will.
So, but it Mr. McGuire, it was a text amendment that we did vote upon back in October.
Well, then why isn't it stated in it?
Because you have an old book.
We have to update your page.
Well, I'm not here, I'm not being a pain in the ass, but I'm here, you give me a piece of paper that says 821. If we had updated it, we should have been informed.
You, Mr. Dwyer, you were informed. I suspect we have a little bit of a typo, and we will make sure that gets corrected. Should you approve this evening, which I think the evidence may be such that you wouldn't be inclined to do so, when we publish the legal ad, we'll make sure it's correct.
Are you want me to say yes, what?
I'm not sure what I want you to say.
No. I'm a little confused. All right.
8.21.
I'd like
It
to
just
hear
says
it.
8.2, so it's
Any of
whatever.
the
For
neighbors.
those of you who don't know, we do have fun once in a while.
Oh, it's in the- yeah.
Commissioner Donovan, do you want me to try to pull it up online to see if we can find the updated?
I'm going to trust staff on this issue.
Jen and I will get together.
It is something,
and pull the
I know that
text
I have typos all the time. Everybody has typo. There was a typo in the memo that Ms. Thurlow ran. So, it is, if you look at 8.2, the following uses may be permitted when granted special permit by the zoning commission subject to the special permit requirements of 25 and 25.5. It could be an error on 8.21. I could sit here and read through this and find it, but moving on, I'm going to trust staff on this issue. It is up to the commission ultimately.
This is what you're looking for. Is that what you're looking for?
8.2. Here we go.
Yeah,
Okay, it is a typo for everybody.
1.17.
So the correct,
How does the public know there's a typo?
We just told
it
you.
is the attorney, their Esquire copy right here. And they're using this as, it is actually 8.2.17. So we may want to correct that in any of the readings that we had there.
8.2.17.
17.
Correct.
Correct, which is landscaping service company.
Right, something they do.
subject,
Sus.
in parentheses, subject to requirements of section 25.5. So, Mr. Mulholland, granted what was brought to our attention now from Mr. Dwyer, I would request that we all get a new, up-to-date issue of our zoning regulations.
To do so.
Okay.
I will just add it must be.
Granted, we do
discussed
have
in
new
the
members
office.
now. Thank you, Mr. Fanner, on that. And that is,
There
you
we go,
know,
we need more staff.
anybody, that is a given point. So anybody who comes in front of the commission for an application has up to date, especially if you're an Esquire like Mr. Harris, who has plenty of staff.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mr. Dwyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Any
are you
other?
going to tell me later?
Still a star. Still a star.
Right. You get a gold star, right. 8.2.17. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Peck, you're good?
Yep.
Mr. Grant, think you're good?
I'm good.
Mr. Early? Okay. Now let me reorganize here. Thank you, Mr. Fanner. At this time, I would suggest if anybody who has comments from the public, either for or against that application, please step up to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please. From all the howling going on, you mean? Okay.
My name is James McClure. I live at 5 Faulkner Drive.
I'm sorry?
My name is James McClure. I live at 5 Faulkner Drive. It's the southerly lot. Right here. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the Commission for their time this evening. I imagine your job is sometimes difficult, but you play an important role in overseeing the future of our town, and I appreciate your efforts. I prepared this statement prior to hearing from counsel for the applicant, so some of it's going to be a little redundant, but I'd like to get it out there. I would also like to say that in my prior interactions with Chris and his family, they've been nothing but cordial and neighborly. Unfortunately, we are on opposing sides of this issue related to a special use permit application. However, I hope we can maintain a friendly relationship regardless of the Commission's ultimate decision on this issue. So, although I understand why the applicant desires to maintain his business garage and office on the property located behind his home, the proposed uses and structures are in direct conflict with the overarching mission and goals of the town's zoning regulations and specific provisions thereof. When making a determination on the applicant's requested special permit, I ask the Commission take the following into consideration. First, with regard to the zoning regulations, the special use permit and proposed structure fail to meet the stated purpose of the regulations. Page 3 of the zoning regulations states that the regulations were adopted to promote the health, safety, general welfare of the town, among other things, by stabilizing and conserving land value, homes, and other buildings, and encouraging the most appropriate use of land throughout the town. The proposed special use structure, driveway, and parking area is surrounded by small residential homes on all sides. All these homes will suffer severe declines in property value if the special permit is granted. Furthermore, there is nothing appropriate about using a parcel of land surrounded by small single-story 2- and 3-bedroom homes to build a nearly 3,000 square foot size garage. For context, the proposed structure is nearly 3 times the size of every single house on Faulkner Drive where I live. In direct conflict with the stated purpose of the regulations, allowing a commercial building to be constructed in the area surrounding small homes is inappropriate and destabilizes the value of the surrounding homes. Section 8 of the zoning regulations deals with CA commercial districts and does not expressly allow property uses similar to the one the applicant requests, but allows only for special permits to be requested. I would like to point out this special permitting process is meant to be a safeguard to protect surrounding property owners and is not a procedure to be rubber stamped without due consideration of the impact of surrounding properties. In this instance, the special use permit is a newly added provision to the zoning regulations. In fact, from what I've heard tonight, and from what I've been able to determine until about a year ago, the idea of a landscaping service company's special use permit had never been considered, and yet landscaping companies have been around for decades. According to the applicant's own website, the specific company in question has been around for more than 70 years. I contend that granting such a special use, which I believe is one of, if not the first of its kind in this town, requires an even more in-depth analysis by the Commission of the consequences to ensure the surrounding landowners are protected. The following sections of the regulations are critical for the proper analysis of the requested special permit. Section 20.2, prohibited uses, states that within the town, no building or structure shall be erected or used, and no lot shall be used or occupied for any of the following purposes: any use, trade, business, or process which is noxious or offensive by reason of gas, odor, dust, smoke, vibration, illumination, or noise. Section 25.3.1, special permits, states that the location and size of the use, the nature and intensity of the operations involved, the size of the site in relation to it, and the location of the site with respect to the existing future streets giving access to it shall be such that it will be in harmony with the orderly development of the district and the location. Nature and height of the buildings, walls, and fences will not discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings or impair the value thereof. As I stated earlier, all of the properties surrounding the proposed structure are small residential homes on all sides. They're about 1/3 the size of the proposed commercial structure. This section further provides that no site plan under the jurisdiction of the zoning commission or special permit required under these regulations shall be approved until the zoning commission and/or the zoning official determines that the overall architectural character of the proposed site and building design is in harmony with the neighborhood, which it's not, in which such activity is taking place, protects the property values of the neighborhood, and preserves and enhances the beauty of the community. Additionally, Section 25.3.2 of the regulations requires that the operations in connection with any special use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, vibration, flashing lights than would be the operation of any permitted uses. Now, I don't know if you've looked at the permitted uses for this section, but that seems like a standard that's impossible to meet. Clearly, the proposed special use of the structure must be scrutinized under these sections. I grew up in a local sand and gravel business, and I have extensive firsthand knowledge of the landscaping industry as a whole. First, the environmental impact of a staging garage to store equipment is immense. Equipment needs to be transported to and from the garage frequently. This requires employees to drive to and from the garage in their personal vehicles and work vehicles. The equipment also needs to be tested and maintained frequently to stay in proper working condition. The gas, odor, dust, smoke from these activities cannot be overstated. Additionally, keeping and maintaining such equipment inevitably leads to leaks, spills, and discharges of fuel, oil, grease, and other contaminants leaching into the ground. This is not only hazardous for the immediate surrounding properties, but will be devastating to the body of water that flows behind Faulkner Drive into the Long Island Sound. From looking at the plans, you'll see what appears to be a nice-looking garage. But we all know these types of structures don't age well. Over time, it will invariably wear down. And when it's all said and done, the surrounding properties will be left with contamination in their own land, or at the very least sharing immediate boundary with contaminated property. Furthermore, the noise pollution from the vehicles and equipment is obvious and overwhelming. There's a reason landscapers use hearing protection. And I would be remiss if I don't mention the noise from opening and closing industrial-sized garage doors, as well as ancillary noise from employees being at the location. Additionally, the light pollution from the proposed use and structure further adds to the devastating impact of the surrounding properties. For my property, it's unbearable. The lights from every vehicle and piece of equipment coming and going from the property will shine directly into my backyard, and therefore into my bedroom, my infant son's bedroom. The lights located on the proposed structure are in direct line with my bedrooms, and will have a sustained negative impact on the use and enjoyment of my property every day. It should also be noted I haven't been able to find any details regarding how the applicant plans to deal with any of these issues. So far tonight, we've discussed a 6-foot fence. I'm 6'1", the building's 20 feet tall. So the applicant will see this of me, and I will see a 20-foot tall structure. In addition to the above concerns, the surrounding properties also need to be protected from hours of operation, which they touched on in their presentation. I believe the town limits contracting work to specified times. However, I'm not aware of any limitations, none were presented today, that prevent the applicant from accessing equipment and using the garage at all. In my experience, work of this nature requires equipment to be on the job site in advance of the job starting. This requires the applicant to access the garage, start the equipment, and move the vehicles, sometimes with loud trailers attached to them, especially going over millings that, as we've stated today, can take up to 2 years to solidify, for lack of a better word, all outside of normal hours. On a final note, I'd like to point out that the applicant has applied for a special use permit based on 8.2.17. Don't worry, I'm not objecting to the typo. This is titled Landscaping Service Company. The term landscaping service company is not defined in the regulations. However, it's clear that the applicant's company is far more than the average landscaping company. The name of his company says as much. While I applaud the applicant's success in growing his company simply doesn't qualify for a special use exemption that's designed for landscaping service companies. The company's equipment is much larger in size than your average lawnmowers and weed whackers, as can be seen by the company's website and Facebook page. The company had over 25 employees this summer, numerous trucks, excavators, and large-scale construction equipment. The applicant markets the company, and the company holds itself out to be more than a simple landscaping company. The company advertises and conducts the following non-landscaping related services: snow plowing, trash collection, lawn installation, deer tick controller. I don't know what that is, but it's on the website. Hardscape installation, including stonework, pavers, patios, fence installation, site excavation, stone and asphalt paving, and the company offers what it calls heavy lifting services, such as backhoe services, complete tree removal services, seawall restoration, and storm rehabilitation. Clearly, even the applicant doesn't think his company is a mere landscaping service company anymore. It is far more accurate to describe the nature of the business to be a full-size construction company. As the applicant continues to grow his business, which I have no doubt that he will, he's very successful, the size and scale of the equipment and the devastating impacts on the surrounding properties will also grow as well. It is clear that the applicant is not solely running a landscaping service company and therefore cannot qualify for the special permit under the plain language of the regulations. For the reasons I've stated, I oppose a special permit, respectfully request that the Commission deny the applicant's proposed special use permit. Alternatively, as I stated before, I've had a cordial relationship with the applicant. If we can get a 30 to 60-day extension so maybe me and him can talk it over and come up with solutions to some of these problems, I'm not opposed to that. Lastly, I would again like to thank the Commission for their time this evening and for giving me the opportunity to voice my concerns regarding the special permit. On behalf of myself and my surrounding property owners, some of which I brought with me, we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McClure.
One last thing. I know the diagrams are mostly for what's being built and the property on it. It's a little deceiving. I'm sure it's not required, but none of the surrounding properties show the houses. So, if I can, the garage bay is...
So you're fine, you can go wherever you need to.
The garage bay, right here, which I assume from your description might be one of the primary garage bay, opens into my backyard. My bedroom is right here. Every single piece of traffic will come down this driveway, make a turn at my bedroom about, I don't know, 20, 35 feet away maybe, and turn into a large garage bay which needs to be opened and closed. Additionally, as you can see from the renderings, the lighting fixtures surround the garage bay doors. So I will get to stare at those in the evening, which is unpleasant. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Anybody else? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Brina McClure. I also live at 5 Faulkner Drive. I took a lot of notes, but my husband touched on a lot of what I was going to add at the end. But I just wanted to show the diagram again, the colorful one. I thought there was another one where that showed the garage there.
Those are the only two I have.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. It's right here. This garage bay, like my husband said, faces our bedroom.
Could
And
you
I know.
If you'd like to set that on the easel and then speak into the microphone for me, please.
I'm sorry. Am I not loud enough? Okay. This is the garage bay I'm talking about. As my husband said, the lights will be on in the evening, but I would assume with a commercial structure like this, lights probably need to be on over the doorways at all times, just in case there's someone on the property. That's an assumption. So I'm not sure if those lights will be on all night long, and both of our bedrooms on our house are in the back of our house. So those lights will be shining in through our house at all times, and we haven't heard how early the employees will be coming to and from the property. But if, say, there's a snowstorm and the snow plows are stored at that facility. Snow can come at any time, and I don't really want to listen to snow plows at 2 in the morning going in and out of that driveway, and I don't believe it's going to be paved, at least not anytime soon. I don't know if I'm sure all of you have driven over Millings before. It's quite noisy, especially with large equipment and trailers. I'm just trying to think. Oh, I just want to go back to this one really quickly. I know on this map, these lots look quite large. Ours is less than a quarter of an acre, I believe, and like my husband said, less than a half. Sorry, less than a half. Our bedroom abuts right here, and the driveway will go all the way down past our bedroom, and we'll have to listen to that garage bay open and close all day long and night long. So those, I think, were just the last couple of things I wanted to touch on. So once again, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. McClure. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Amanda Smith. I live at 7 Faulkner, which is next to the McClures, and it's adjacent from the proposed building, and I also oppose this as well. I defer to everything that James and Brina had mentioned before. Something I would like to note, while my property isn't, the property line isn't completely impacted, we'll be able to see the development right from our backyard, right from our back porch, which we spend a lot of time at. My kids are always outside. I work from home. I start early in the day. We have 2 young infants. We're going to be home with them all day long, so we're going to be significantly impacted by this as well. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Anybody else?
How are you? I'm Chris Manwaring, 23 and 25 Black Point Road. I just want to first start by saying that my family and our business has been in this town a very long time. Under no circumstances will we do anything that is going to ruffle feathers, bother anybody. I did just want to point out a couple things just to clear any of the air in some of the statements. My house is just under 2,000 square feet. It was 2,100, and then they rechanged some of the shallow ceilings to bring me into 1,900. So some of the statements made are a little false because the building's like 2,800 square feet, 2,900 square feet. So my house is 2,000 square feet. So it's comparable. It's not triple the size, right? That's a little bit of an overstatement. Black Point Pizza's right nearby. That's a very big building. Signcraft, 4 houses down, also a very big building. So it's not that he's wrong in his concerns. It's just that the statement of the size comparisons, this thing being a ginormous elephant, there are other large structures in the neighborhood. Couple other items. I live at 23. I wake up in the morning to go to work. I plow my driveway to get out. Sometimes 4 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m. They have never complained about that. So we see right into their backyard right now as it is. Valid point on their end. We will screen or cover in any way to make, and his point is valid, to have a discussion where we would make privacy where privacy is needed. It is a commercial site. Because it's been empty is not my fault. We bought it. It's a zoned building lot, and a gas station could go there, a pizza house. That is what's under the current regulations. We had this special permit for this change to just basically make a barn, so to speak. So that's it. Thank you.
Chris?
Before we go, Mr. Chairman, may I?
After me.
Yeah.
Question for you now. Your employees are going to be on the remote site for the
Yes.
most part, correct?
Yep.
So this structure, if approved and erected, is going to be used basically for maintenance, or?
It's mainly for storage. It's a turnover of seasonal equipment. No big fuel tanks, no fertilizing stash, no mountain of salt. Basically, it's just like your summer, spring, winter wardrobe. You have to have somewhere to put it.
It's a closet.
It's a closet. I didn't even want it to go where it has to be located, but it's a commercial building site. And I'm not sure if these folks know that okay, say this doesn't get applied for, I sell the lot, it's still a building lot. Another building could go in there that is exactly under the guidelines. Way more foot traffic. This is not a retail site that people are going to be coming and going all hours of the day, hundreds of people. This is a business that I store stuff there, you go grab something, if you need it, you come back. 20 bodies a day, not hundreds, it's not a laundromat, it's not a pizza house. And the other half of our issue here is that the satellite location, that's where we report. This is more of like you said, a storage closet.
So again, you're not going to have, if approved, you're not going to have vehicles pulling in and out.
No.
You know, like, hey, John, go get this, go get that.
That is not the home base of operation, no. I didn't even want an office.
A lot of the traffic is basically like in between seasons.
Correct. I didn't even want an office in this. This is just following the regs so that everything is above board. If it was just a big barn that was just open with no office, nothing, no bathroom, I'd be fine with that as well. But we're just trying to follow whatever the guidelines are along with the special use permit.
And then again, in means of like privacy, you'd be willing to come
Yes.
up with a solution such as like an 8-foot fence or...
We have never had an issue. He needed trees taken down. I gave full access to my property to let our friend come take the trees down. Again, we've been in this town a long time. I do not intend to ruffle any feathers. Whatever needs to be discussed amongst neighbors, I am willing to play ball.
Understood. Mr. Mulholland.
Chris, since you are in landscaping business,
Yep.
would you give consideration on that southerly property line of adding evergreens as well as a 6-foot fence? You know, I'd say a 6-foot.
I feel like they're...
Dimensioning, et cetera.
Correct.
To help soften over time. I realize it takes some time should this commission approve it. I think all of us like our privacy in our homes and visually, et cetera. Whether our castles are 10,000 square feet or 200 square feet, it's still our home, our castle.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that as a consideration. Is that something you would seriously consider?
More than consider, it would be a done deal. And I feel like it's a little underdrawn on the plan based on the angles because the fence is only going to go where, right, if it's a 25-foot driveway entrance and you have a foot to put a fence, as soon as that opens up, then it will be thicker planting through that space. So it's just on paper, it doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing.
So to follow up, would you have your engineer submit a revised plan to my office delineating some healthy...
Yeah, and the other item is...
corner to provide some additional protection to the neighbors. Again, should this commission approve it, I
Yep.
really don't know what they'll do.
Green giant arborvitae is arguably, aside from privet, one of our #1 requested plants. Grows 3 feet a year, very large plant species, deer resistant. Typically what you do in a privacy situation with other clients, me being my own client at this time, you lead off with the evergreens tied together and then you add some elevated trees behind it so that that's screening, and then as the evergreens grow bigger, get rid of the trees, and now you have the height of the large evergreens. So, which would be a significant improvement upon what they have now. And they would agree with that.
So, in general, you're willing to work with the neighborhood?
Yes, yes, but I've lived there my whole life. I have not moved far. 21 I was born at, I lived at. 23 I bought, and then bought 25, so we're right there.
So there is room along where you were proposing the fence to add evergreens? I thought there wasn't room.
It's the straightaway piece. If you look at in this space right here, the McClure house is there, so you have room right here to start the plantings earlier than what's gone. It's just, it doesn't look too appealing. Like this could have come up further to here to fully block their property off.
Room for improvement.
So there is room to where you could plant along
100%.
the driveway and stuff like that. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Granitek.
A couple questions for you. You don't think you would intend to leave lighting on 24 hours a day
No.
for security purposes?
I'm fairly certain I'm not allowed to, right? Isn't that part of the...
There's not actually regulation about it, but it would be a nice thing if...
Correct.
You don't have spotlights, you just have the
No.
low-intensity lighting on the building,
No.
which are going to go off. And
Correct. It would be on a timer, or if you went in and out of the building, it would have a 5-minute timer for it or whatever. But I mean, I can't say that I'm never going to go into a building that I own and built. So
Understood.
it's going to be something that you use. Or if it was a house, like you would build a house, it would be in the same building lot, nothing illegal. One of the caveats was it is a commercial site, and correct me if I'm wrong, 250 or 300 feet off the road. This building is within the commercial zone off of that. So the whole lot is not commercial, only the first 50% of the lot. The building is going in the 50% of the lot where it's supposed to go.
So who maintains your equipment currently?
We do,
Where?
on site, at the current site.
At the current site?
Yeah.
So this is being sold as simply a storage facility, but I also heard maintenance come up, and maintenance on large landscaping equipment
Yeah,
could probably turn into looking and sounding like an auto repair shop pretty quickly.
I suppose you could say that, yes. But in this regulation, isn't this predicated just to me? Like the special use is granted to me, so that if I sold the business to a race car company, then that would void the permit?
This is a special permit
No, it
for a
runs with the land.
specific.
It runs with the,
It would have to be a landscape company, would it not?
right, the use that you approve runs with the land. The state statutes and our regulations in certain areas speak to the issue of intent to abandon. So if he sells the business and somebody else comes in with something different, and then somebody else comes along and wants to open a landscaping activity on the same parcel, they've got to come back to you.
And
for a
reapply.
special permit.
This is a permit specific to a landscape
That's
service
correct.
company.
But if he sells it to party B, who's also landscaping, they can continue the use as approved by this commission. Any additional expansion of that use would require to come back. So if he's bringing in heavy equipment, there's been testimony on this application that that's not going to be the case. So if there's heavy equipment, it's a violation of his approval.
How do we define heavy equipment?
I probably have to pull out Webster's Third on the Bridge and start looking and piecing together the language.
Heavy
But
equipment is
it's
like
not going to be a pickup
backhoes.
truck, it's not going to be
Yeah.
a car, which is what's been testified, essentially is going to be vehicles with some equipment repair, which in my opinion, mowers. Typical is what.
But I'm hearing this is more than mowers.
But we have heard some discussion of things in addition to that.
Right.
So perhaps, Chris, maybe you can clarify something?
Our business is half landscaping, half home care, so it's a year-round company. Some of the discussions that took place with town hall officials deemed that it was just a landscaping company, not enough home care, which I ended up having to enlist Ted, thankfully, and Bob for the special permit. But basically, we do landscaping, and then we maintain and watch and service the homes as well. Fixing any broken windows, cleaning gutters, items like that. So there is, I don't know if you would call that landscaping tools, but it's like house maintenance items as well as your general knowledge landscaping tools.
So what would be an example of a piece of equipment that would be stored and maintained at this facility?
The equipment that we own currently is we own lawnmowers, we own what you would consider a Kubota front loader, right, like a farm tractor looking, and then we own a 25-horse mini excavator and a skid steer. We don't own any large dump vehicles, no dumpsters. No, we don't have a chipper.
Okay.
No, it's a small scale landscaping company. The next size up, and I think my neighbor would agree that he's friends with folks that own big dumpster businesses. His father owns a gravel pit with a large air brake dump trucks, right? You're talking big equipment. We do not have any equipment like that. You can look at our
Mason dumps and single.
We have a Mason dump, single
axle.
Chevy Silverados. We have lawnmowers.
Snowblowers?
No, we don't have any snow blowers, believe it or not. A lot of shovels.
You got a lot of help then, my friend.
Well, yes, we have upward of 20 to 25 employees on staff, not full-time, because like right now we're down to 9. Right, so in the summertime with college kids, high school kids, you can't physically there's no such thing as a landscaping business in this area that runs 25 guys year-round.
And the reason I'm asking these questions, it may seem a little bit silly or a little specific, but I'm just trying to define the activities at the building,
Yes.
because it seems at this point a little bit vague. And we're applying for a special permit for a landscape service company, which you could also interpret in different ways.
Correct.
So, and I do, I'm trying to look at your point of view and your neighbor's point of view, and I'm just imagining that how this could start as one thing, and then when I start to hear maintenance of vehicles, turns into something maybe different than what was proposed, or, so I'm just trying to define
Yes.
what this is actually going to be in the activities and clarify the permit.
Correct. So if, for example, if we swap out our fall equipment for our summer equipment, you get a flat tire on something and it's raining. I want to be able to change a tire undercover in the garage. I want to store the equipment in there, not leaving it outside all season. No, we're not running a repair shop where, like Advanced Power, where you're bringing and lining up all the equipment outside and people are dropping their stuff off to be repaired. It's really just for our business, just
Do
a
you
storage.
work on your own trucks?
Yes,
Not the equipment, but the
all of
trucks?
it, all of it.
So you change the oil and
Change
all
the
that?
oils and just basic general maintenance. Anything we can't handle, we bring to guys or MJs for the vehicles, and anything we can't fix on the tractors goes to Can Tractor. It's pretty standard for every guy that does this
So you're,
business.
you're basically doing like something that I can do at my house, changing my oil.
Low-level stuff, yes. We're not like,
You're rebuilding engines.
no, we're not rebuilding. You couldn't rebuild a 14, yeah, it's not that
Or
type.
truck motors or that kind of thing.
Yep. Just storage and a little bit of maintenance, and that's about it.
Mr. Dwyer?
You're not gonna put a big sign, man wearing, letters that high on the building, are you?
I won't, no, there is no plan to put any big sign on the building, no. Nothing like that to draw any other attention than, it was supposed to look like it blends in with the neighborhood. Pulled a permit to re-side my house with white cedar, want the building to blend in with that, blend in with the neighborhood, as best as we can. And in agreement with our neighbors, that's the other thing. You have to live here. I'm not trying to upset anybody, so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other rebuttal? Mr. Penny?
I think just to make everyone's life easier, maybe speak. Is that permitted or not? Oh, okay. I told you, cordial and friendly. That's what our experience
Yep.
has been.
I will say, I mean, if it's something you're going to add to it, that's fine, but if it's something that you want to
No,
talk to
I
him about,
discussed-
that's something you can do on,
Yeah, well, I discussed it with Amanda, who is the other neighbor who has like a direct line of sight to it. Our
state
biggest.
your name again for me.
I'm
please.
sorry, James McClure, 5 Faulkner Drive.
Thank you.
Our biggest concern, and I wish we had discussed this before the meeting, Chris, but time did not allow for it. Our biggest concern, to an extent, I do agree with what Chris said. His equipment is not massive, but it is bigger than your standard lawnmower type deal. So it's somewhere in the middle of the road. He's alleviated most of our noise concerns. Our biggest concern, again, is just having a 6-foot fence there, which I think Chris and I can probably work through with Amanda and her.
Which the commission and Mr. Chris Manwaring did address in the hearing. So, I mean, if
Right.
you have something new to add to your statement,
I don't. I would just if there's an approval like pending or whatever the discussion is. I don't know how the procedure works, so I apologize for that. But if it's contingent upon that, you won't get any pushback. From
it
us.
is up to the commission to
Right.
discuss and move forward from there. So,
Sure.
Matt?
Just trying to make your life easier. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. If the commission conditions his permit to add arborvitae's, which he's testified he would, then I would just ask for a new site plan, which will be available in my office. Should the commission act favorably this evening, and you're more than welcome to come down and look at that.
Sure. I appreciate that.
Construction, the building official, and others will be out on site from time to time to ensure everything's done according to what's been approved.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Anybody else? You may step up to the microphone. State your name and address for the record, please.
Amanda Smith, 7 Faulkner Drive. I just wanted clarification on whether there was going to be regular office workers and how many people on a regular basis would be in and out of the business or in and
Could
out
you
of the
please
building.
address the commission?
I apologize.
Thank you.
I just wanted clarification about whether there was going to be regular office workers that were going to be coming in and out of the building. Maybe it was just me, but I just wanted some clarification. I don't
That
feel like I
was
understood
in their
correctly.
presentation?
Correct. I feel that the council mentioned that there was going to be office workers there on a regular basis, but then I remember Chris saying that there was going to be an office there just for kind of, regulation purposes or something. So I just wanted to confirm that there were going to be people, whether there were going to be people in and out of the building on a regular basis, or if it was just going to be for storage and the office was put there just in case. I just wanted clarification on that, just so I have an idea of what the regular foot traffic is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Chris, would you like to?
Yeah, I just want to make sure you were ready. So our current business hours for regular employees, based on all the noise complaints amongst the entire town, and especially down where we are located, we operate 8 to 4:30. That does not exist for any other landscaping company, I promise you that. 8 to 4:30 is a very narrow window. Now, this particular structure, holding equipment, how many people will go there in a day? I mean, right now, my wife and I do our books. So we handle payroll, I handle the invoicing. So if I have to put an office into this place, I will intend to use the office space to do that. So you're talking maybe 2 people a day going in and out of there for office work. I would say maybe, if I had to guess, somewhere 5 to 10 people in and out of there a day. For how many times, I don't know, but in and out, like if I go there to pick something up and leave, possible little bit of back and forth foot traffic, but not like, it's not headquarters where the gang mounts up and the posse rides out 15 vehicles all in a line and, a cloud of dust. It's a storage facility, basically, that looks like a barn, and it has an office in it that we will go a few times a day. That makes...
Mr. Mulholland.
How many crews do you generally operate at peak season?
One big crew.
Weekends?
We do not work on weekends. That is a rule of the neighborhood that we've been able to keep for a long time.
And will you not work at this location on weekends?
I will go into the building on the weekend, yes.
Yeah, but Sundays?
Would I go? I may go into I run the business, I do bookkeeping.
Would you be starting mowers that you were working on?
No.
Take them out of the building
No.
and fire them up a couple of times on a Sunday morning?
No, I would do nothing different than I do to these folks now. I try never to start anything super early in the morning. I live there also. That's the other caveat to this is I have 3 children. My house is right there, so any flack I give them, I would probably get from my wife as well. So.
That's why I still do it.
That's right.
I love my drive, but I'm safer at work.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. At this time, I'll take a motion to continue, approve, or deny, to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I move we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Abstain? Public hearing is closed. Thank you very much. Moving on to the regular meeting. The application of Theodore A. Harris, Esquire, for a special permit for a landscape service company for section 8.2.17 and section 25.5 at 23 Black Point Road, East Lyme Assessor's Map 11.4, lots 172.1-1 and 173 partially. We'll open up for discussion.
That's a big building. And in kind of a residential area.
Let me ask this, is everybody here on the commission familiar with the area?
Yeah.
I am familiar, and I drove by a couple times, but honestly, I'd like to just go walk around the block.
Yeah. Well,
But
all right, because on Black Point Road here, as was stated from the applicant and some of the people here, is that there is commercial buildings there. You got Black Point Pizza there, right?
Across the street, there's
Right.
some buildings in there too.
Now, there is another building there across the street from Black Point Pizza,
I know.
which looks a lot worse than what is presented to us tonight. You know, it is the area zoned for said applications by special permit.
If it's in fact going to be used as it's being sold as a storage facility, I would tend to favor the project if that's what it is. I don't have a lot of working knowledge of the business, and I'm understanding that there's a completely different site, which is the main hub of the business, which, you know, sets some of my concerns at ease. So if this is in fact a storage closet, then it should be a storage closet.
I can actually vouch for that because I worked for a company who did construction work down in Old Black Point, and everybody knows who they are. You know, so they are well liked and well respected down there. It's like same thing with another business in town who is a plumber who has the name of our town.
But the point is, you're putting a big building in it. You know, the reputation has nothing to do with the subject.
No, I understand that, but here we have in front of us who is an application who is trying to do things legally in the correct way. And I know in my neighborhood, I live up in the Heights, there are several landscaping companies who do not have permits to operate their businesses. And they park their trailers and their mowers in their yards, in their driveways, stuff like that. This application that's in front of us tonight is, like was said, as a storage business. It's not to where they're going to be operating out of it. So I'd rather see something, you know, rather than you drive down like Fairhaven Road, you can see somebody who's got, you know, those 10 by 20 tarps up.
Then you tell the zoning officer to get.
Maybe we have, but
That's his job.
my point being is we have somebody who is trying to do this the correct way and to meet the architectural standards. You know, I'm fine with it myself. The low lighting, you know, lighting was brought up and what was presented to us tonight from Mr. Fannin was it's low intensity lighting. You know, gooseneck, so that they're down face lights. They're not, you know, you see on some commercial buildings to where they have those LED box lights. You know, you don't have pole lights. You don't have, you know, floodlights on this building. And so if this application is approved tonight, it has to meet what is presented to us.
Of course it does.
Yeah. So.
I haven't heard from Mr. Peck.
I know him.
Well, just a comment. As he mentioned, you may know that Chris's father also is a neighbor, a budding property owner, who's surrounded by critics, maybe. Not really pertinent to this discussion. About 15 years ago, we proposed, this commission proposed a neighborhood business zone. And we identified certain strips, certain roads that were commercial that we wanted to tone down because it was a commercial zone, but it was really residential uses primarily. This was one of those areas that we were going to propose a neighborhood business zone that really toned down commercial, small offices, small commercial, studios and things like that. The public showed up and squashed it. Just kind of a side comment. Not sure whether it was anybody from this neighborhood or not, but this commission did try to tone down the permitted uses in this area. But other than that, I'm in favor of this. It's looks clean. Everybody's considerate. I think it'll work out.
Thank you, Mr. Peck.
Chairman Donovan, I have a question. I don't know if this would be appropriate or not, but as a new member, you might be able to help me with this.
I'm sure we all can. Go ahead.
Okay, the question that I have is that I can appreciate the way that they get along. My concern is that if it's not in writing, is it possible or is it even allowable that we have a continuance for 30 days, like Ms. Thurlow said that she would like to walk around the property? Maybe the parties can sit down and talk.
Say that tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I missed it, sorry. I must have been reading.
And so maybe the parties involved, or the neighbors involved, maybe they could have like a little meeting or something so it's put in writing so then everybody feels comfortable, because they stated that it's 20 feet away from their bedroom window. I wouldn't want to live like that and hear any kind of noise like that. It is a bigger building. So with a bigger building, obviously if they need a bigger building to accommodate their growing business. So it's not going to have the same noise level and the same traffic it does now. The footprint of it is changing. It's going to be a bigger building. They're going to need to fill up the bigger building, which I get. But I'm just wondering if it's appropriate if we can continue it for a little bit of time so the parties involved can get together, and then that way it's tangible. It's on a piece. It's in writing, and they've agreed to it because it is their neighborhood and they have to live with it. And we want to make sure that people are happy in the neighborhoods that they live in. And, and that way it's in writing. That way, if something does go awry, I hope it doesn't. I like the fact that the plan has a rain garden slated for it. That's wonderful. I think that's really important. I like that aspect of it. But, we can say a lot of things, but unless it's in writing, they don't follow. There's a possibility that it, may not happen. And with it being so close, 20 feet away is just, that's really
Well, the
close.
building isn't going to move. It's there.
I know, but if they can work together, like do the
I don't
fence,
understand the working together part.
because they're talking about noise in the fence and stuff like that. So if they can come up with an agreement, then I'm just asking if it's possible, if it's allowable, because Ms. Thurlow would like to walk the property as well. So.
All right. Ms. Jet Harris, this is
Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Mulholland.
The board really can't predicate its decision-making based on hoping two parties get together and make an agreement,
Okay.
with all due respect. And I think we all concur on that. We'd like to see everybody get along, et cetera. The board, if you make a motion in an affirmative, you're going to also have to add a condition for the exception on the sidewalk. You can also add an additional condition because you have the legal right to condition special permits. I might suggest you add item number 2. That might say add evergreen trees at a minimum, have planting of 6 feet along the southerly property line, which would then require it, and then they would develop a new plan and get it into me, which I could share to you if you wanted to see it. There's been discussion at
Which the applicant is willing to
do. But if we add it as a condition, then that may be helpful to what your position is. It may help Ian's. It may help the neighbors knowing that the commission conditioned it. It seems that the applicant has agreed to that already. So I suggest you might add it as a motion as a way to move forward. Certainly up to the board, whatever you choose to do.
That was actually my question, but you said it better. Thank you.
do.
I just didn't know how to say it right. That's good. Thank you, Mr. Mulholland.
Participation, Mr. Chairman, keep some notes in case
Yeah, unlike last time that we kept going.
I kind of
Sometimes it takes a while to make up language,
You want to read that? You want to read this?
and that's why I'm very part of Bobby's presentation.
All right. Again, I apologize for missing your statement before. I was just trying to get everything together here.
No,
Any other
I
comments?
was just thinking if it would be nice to walk around the neighborhood, and if they're revising their plan, adding more arborvitaes, it would be nice to see that too. But if no one else feels the need to do that,
Well,
I'm.
we
I
can
will
put it
vote.
in as a stipulation, Mr. Earl. But, I mean, if we do, walk the property, now that the public hearing is closed, we can no longer introduce
No,
anything new.
done,
It's an
it's
excellent
finished.
And I've learned that personally.
Yeah,
But we
So,
can add conditions?
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
application, we can add
Okay.
conditions, correct.
Okay.
Reasonable conditions.
Reasonable
Right,
conditions,
yeah,
correct. So, I mean, and, from listening to the applicant speak tonight, he is willing to work with his neighborhood because we don't want to see them on neighborhood wars on A&E, right? So it's something to where he is willing to work with others. I mean, and I sense that from talking to everybody from both Mr. McClure, Mrs. McClure and Mr. Manwaring and Ms. Smith, so, she had concerns about the foot traffic, but there's probably going to be more foot traffic, on Black Point Road, that's just my opinion. But I am familiar with the area. But on that, any other comments from anybody? No. We're good? With that, I would take a motion to approve or deny said application. And keep in mind, if you do want to put additions or stipulations to this, conditions, that's the word I'm looking for, thank you, to include those.
I'll make a motion to approve the application of Theodore Harris for a special permit for landscape service company per section 8.2 point, whatever it is,
1-7.
17, and section 25.5 at 23 Black Point Road, East Lyme.
Correction, it's 25, I believe, the address.
The
of the
lot is 25.
Is that correct? Thank you,
25.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
Thank you, no, thank you, Mr. Mulholland. 25 Black
With
Point
the
Road.
addition of a waiver of the sidewalk requirement, and to extend the arborvitae trees to the end of the driveway radius as described. Looks like another 3 or 4 trees.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Right?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Me? Aye.
Also, just because I would add more conditions, but,
Well, feel free.
so,
If you want to suggest conditions, go right ahead. So,
I think we should also put conditions that all landscaping materials and machinery be stored indoors, and outdoor parking limited to passenger cars and pickup trucks.
What was that again?
I think
Would
that
you repeat
testimony is
that?
already in their narrative to us, but you certainly could add that.
it's basically to store. I can't read your writing, sorry. Could you?
One more time.
I would just say I would want to add that all landscaping materials and machinery be stored indoors, and outdoor parking shall be limited to passenger cars and pickup trucks.
So would you like to amend your motion to
Is-
include that?
Isn't that already in
In their
the regulations?
In their presentation, in their narrative, in all your packets, item number 1, all landscape materials and machinery shall be stored indoors. Period. But if you want to make, if you want to add that, it's up to the commission what you choose to add. It is in their presentation, it is in their narrative. In my view, it's part of the application, it is required. So if I get complaints later on, if it's up and running and you do approve it, it's going to be, hey guys, you can't do this, or you get letters in the mail from the zoning guy.
I only like
Or
to
lady.
double enforce it because I know
That's
we've
fine.
approved things before and they don't have to.
Doesn't matter when you get
Sure.
it.
So then, Mr. Peck, would you like to amend your,
So amended.
Mr.
So
Dwyer?
moved.
You good with that? I will retake the vote for amended motion from Mr. Peck. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Debbie Jett. Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'll publish next Thursday the legal ad effective on Friday.
I was just going to ask you that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Thank you for that. Approval of minutes. Excuse me. Approval of minutes of August 4th, 2022. Your motion to approve or deny, please.
It's enough that needed. The presenter said they would put in charges. That was
I did notice that too. When I was reading the minutes, let me find my page here. Let me use yours, please, because I got two separate things in one. In the minutes, you did note that Ann Chicello, in response to a question from the members, informed them that the Board of Selectmen approved electric car charging stations throughout the spots in town. Prior to that, the developer did say that they were putting in charging stations. So I think that just throws off the minutes there. If we can just add that in there so that it has some base. I'm on section 5, I believe it is.
Page 2.
Page 2, in the public hearing, just before the regular meeting.
Did you say they were going to put in?
During his presentation, he was talking about some of the
No,
garages.
he said maybe in the future or on a different project.
He said they were putting them in, they just hadn't decided who was going to pay for it, the tenants, how they were going to divide up the electric bill.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying they were definitely.
I don't remember that.
No, but there was, I guess what we're trying to say is we need to just indicate on there how the applicant did discuss putting in electrical charging stations. So that way, the note in there from Ms. Chicello makes sense,
So
correct?
I'll look at exactly what you'd like to say.
I don't think that's necessary in this particular case. It's an elderly home.
I understand that, but reading the minutes, Mr. Dwyer,
I know, but.
it says nowhere prior to.
He spoke of in the future on some other project.
I don't think
Cor-
so.
I think he did.
Can
He
you,
said
can you
that's
just go
something
back
we'll-
and
That's
check?
something we'll review on future projects,
Yeah,
not
I
in
can
this
listen to it.
particular
You know
case.
what, I can't
Yeah.
agree with Mr. Dwyer.
Thank you.
He said there would be a problem figuring out how to charge people. So therefore, they thought about it, and they couldn't come up with a way to.
Right, so
charge
then we may
people.
want to add that into the minutes so that the statement that Ms. Chicello said makes sense.
Do you want
please.
to tell me exactly what you want?
How discussion of electrical vehicle charging in garages were discussed.
I think the charging station in that particular case is ridiculous.
Well, I understand that,
It
but,
was discussed, but
It
not
was
viable at this
discussed.
time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right. So that's what I want to get in there, how the applicant discussed it and how Ms. Chicello answered it. Because right now it's just like, hey, look at the Frisbee. It's just out there. So, okay. Other than that, I had no problems with it. Anybody else? So then I will take a motion to approve the minutes of August 4th, 2022 as amended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Thurlow. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Debbie Check. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended for August 4th, 2002, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
No, wait till I get there.
Oh, I thought that was next.
No. Against, abstain.
I was just trying to save you stuff.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. Old business, I have none. Nobody. New business. Any business on the floor, if any, by the majority vote of the commission?
Yeah, that sign.
I knew that was coming
Joe's
up.
Plumbing.
You knew it was coming, Peter. You
Added
knew it.
another sign under Joe.
Call him.
And to me, this is if it was a plant, we'd cut it down, or a tree.
I'll have to look at. I have not seen it yet, so I don't know.
I wanted to bring something up.
Yes, Mr. Peck.
With the board's permission, a possible subcommittee formation to address downtown Niantic and perhaps adjust the permitted uses a little bit. May I speak?
Are you asking? Go ahead.
Okay.
You have the table.
There's been rumors for quite some time, and I think it's inevitable when you look at what's going on in downtown. We're getting big buildings, one at a time. All indications from the public, the surveys, the Yale charrette over the years, people are indicating, the public, the citizens of East Lyme have indicated clearly that they want to maintain the character of the village. I'd like to take another shot at trying to reduce the chance of tearing down the old small buildings and building a couple of more Morton houses. And I request a small subcommittee to talk about it.
Well, wouldn't that come under planning rather than zoning?
No. We are running the show here. We write the regulations. Planning, they plan. They did their job. They did a tremendous job of the 10-year plan, surveying all the townspeople. They did their job, and they got feedback that indicates what I'm talking about. So we're picking up the ball and actually acting on it.
Well, I kind of expected them to come forward and present something, and we would work on zoning.
It's not their job.
No, that was my expectation.
Well,
I mean,
we've done this historically. It's our thing to do.
Can you give us a general idea of what
Excuse me, the plan of development, conservation and development indicates things like this. Maintain the character. Okay? So that's our order if we chose to take it upon ourselves. A couple of thoughts would be mixed use. We have a regulation that encourages apartments upstairs, second, third floor, retail on the first floor. That seems to be the thing. It's economically very profitable to do that in a large scale.
And we have that.
Okay, so to eliminate that use is a possibility. I tried to push a limit for any new construction of 5,000 square feet in downtown Niantic, and that got shot down big time. Try that again, we'll get the same cast of characters shooting arrows at us, but that's another possibility. Because 5,000 gets small, it becomes economically unfeasible.
But you keep the village-esque look, right?
Yeah.
I know.
To me, part of the problem too is maybe the size is part of it, but you know, like when we saw the bakery building, we saw pictures of, you know, divided pane doors that looked like French doors that had more charm. It had an awning coming out. And I see things we see, but then when they're built, they're not exactly as we see them.
They're not done yet, are
I
they?
was gonna say, they're not completed yet.
Yeah, but they're not going to change the
We
doors.
adopted architectural review regs, so
Yeah.
any new building downtown comes right here, which you haven't done that yet. We're gonna have a lot of training and learning to do about how we do that, but that's in our future should this move forward. If I might follow up on what Norm has to say, when we received a text amendment from Attorney Harris on behalf of Gary Smith, who built the big building across from Lillian's, we had a reg change. And the commission chose to adopt that at that time. I think we all knew somewhere down the road we'd be looking at wanting to prevent an assemblage of several parcels and building these big, large buildings, which adversely, depending on your view and opinion, the Niantic Village. You want your village to be in scale with the human being in terms of height and size and bulk. Developers are in business to make money. They'll come in and tell us whatever they think we want to hear with all due respect. It is a business. Doesn't have to be adversarial. But this comes down to, we have architectural control, which we didn't have before. But with that said, anybody can come in with a deep pocket and assemble several lots and tear it all down.
All right, so I think we're getting a little bit off track here. So I think what Mr. Peck is asking for is this commission good with forming a subcommittee
Yeah,
to discuss Main Street,
yes.
more or
Something
less,
we have to. I don't think it's our obligation.
right?
Right.
So, Mr. Peck, that would,
It's pretty much in the plan.
that's pretty much your
It's
answer.
been in the plan for many
Yeah.
years. Yep.
So, who would like to be in that commission besides Mr. Peck?
I would, so I can learn.
I would.
We're good?
3's enough with Bill.
With Bill.
I'm in.
Okay, so there you go. And you guys can discuss amongst yourselves and have fun.
I have another question.
I've been there.
Yes.
Chairman Donovan.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know, Terry. I don't know if I should ask you, Terry, or if I should ask Bill this, but I've noticed when we talk about the downtown development, Dev still hasn't planted trees, haven't done anything, and I think they were supposed to do it when I read back.
I will address that right now.
I was just curious.
Yeah,
That's all.
right now, Devs is operating on a temporary outdoor dining.
That is correct,
thing.
and they will be in.
It has been addressed.
Okay.
I will tell you that. If it is not addressed, I know I will not be supporting their outdoor dining permit. But
Fall
So,
is a nice time
it
to
is.
plant trees.
well,
Fall is the
that
time
is-
to plant trees, actually.
Yeah.
I suspect we're going to have an applicant in the spring with a new design. We shall see. It's the commission's purview to approve, deny, or modify these special permit applications as they come before you, whether it's outdoor dining or some other special permit. You have that opportunity. So I suspect this will be addressed in the future as the summer season and fall season start to wind down.
When do they do to come back for their outdoor dining renewal?
It's usually in the spring.
May? Oh.
March?
Yeah, I think it's.
March? April?
Well, technically, Jen schedules, and we have, I think, almost 20, so we try to get in 10 and get in 10 on another
Yeah.
night when you have less activity on your calendar. We normally don't get everybody coming back because much of it's just routine. This one will not be, which is fine. It's part of doing business.
I feel like Ann does, though. Like when we talk about something and we like to see it come to fruition, but like you said, Bill, your department needs more help. So we can force this stuff.
I will say this, if you guys do discuss items that the zoning commission does handle, be careful. You really should discuss it as a commission, not as individuals. Because if someone does overhear you, they can take it the wrong way and we're out of.
All
I
due
don't
respect,
know
you're
the one
speaking
that
you're
has
speaking in general about.
No, I'm making it in general, by all means, yeah, no, just in general, yeah, yeah.
Listen, 3 or 4 is actually a meeting. If you get 3, 4, 3,
Correct,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can't have a
Yeah,
forum.
you
but
cannot do
don't
that,
have-
yeah. No, that's just a general statement, just for the record.
Yeah.
That's all it is, yeah. Because what you mentioned has been brought up to Mr. Mulholland several times.
What, the tree?
Debs.
Oh,
Yeah.
Deb's, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just happened to notice it when I
Would you
drove
say
by and I
3 or
know.
4
When-
times? Don't you mean 10 or 20?
Well, no, I just remember because one of the first meetings I sat on, Terry, we had discussed it, and then I was like, When I drove by there, I was like, oh, they don't have this stuff there. That's all. I was just curious,
Now, I
because,
know we gave them a period of time, and then it was gonna come back up when they reapply for their.
Yeah, we've had
outdoor-
discussions in
Yeah.
some,
But that no COVID
Some-
thing and the outdoor dining.
when people remodel and build and invest their money, they save the landscaping and that sort of thing for last. I'm out of money, I've decided not to do this, and it's, no, excuse me, it's on your plan here, you have to do this. So that's why we talk about it's important, like tonight, adding some conditions to make sure it's there, which gives me the ability to go in, that's well and good, but they very specifically put it in on this one, you must do this or we go to litigation.
Can I insert my personal opinion for a second? Not sure it's gonna make it to March, that business.
So I've heard that in a few places already. I don't know either. I think we all wish them well. I think we're all aware the movie theater's going to close.
oh, no. I
Till
didn't hear that.
Christmas.
Until Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying it's not, if that outdoor dining piece is removed, that may be, because I don't.
I think we can do our part, and I think they'll do their part if they make it to the spring.
Yeah.
Moving on, but in terms of landscaping, I think this commission and Mr. Mulholland,
We're all on the same page.
everybody does a good job in terms of that.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay, Mr. Mulholland.
I'll just very quickly, we're busy. They're knocking on the door. Spring was slow. Well, they're at the door now. And I've got all kinds of people knocking on the door, and we're busy. I was in meetings all day long. Side note, Old Lyme drafted me. I went to meet with them tonight at 4 o'clock. They wanted my input on some village district plans.
Soundview.
On Route 156 down near Soundview. Okay, I'll come over. Well, we spent 2 hours talking about the things we talk about. So when you're not in it alone, every community's kind of looking at the same things, and we're all looking at architectural stuff and village character and trying to do stuff in human scale and trying to induce the private sector to be more responsible when it comes to development. It was an interesting meeting. So I'm still teaching, learning, and moving forward.
Never stop learning, right?
Yeah, so we're busy. I'll leave it at that. You'll see some things coming before you. Nothing in the immediate pipeline, but more administrative in my office. There's some big things out there. Until they figure out what they're doing and kind of become realistic, they're not going to be going anywhere.
Did it surprise you that I had no issues with the sidewalk?
It surprised me, actually. I was
Well,
waiting for you to
I mean-
say something.
I think realistically,
You would've had-
I almost did it for you,
Would
Terry.
have had a really nice short section of
25
sidewalk.
Yeah.
feet going to nowhere
Yeah.
might be.
It would've looked good,
might be
though.
laughed out of the room. And
Well,
then,
and first he's like,
yeah.
Every time I go by Dr. Wilson's office, because he has 25 feet of sidewalk and nothing on
Yeah.
his.
Yeah. Eventually
Listen, if you
we'll
would
have
have just held your
sidewalks
ground,
there,
we'll have
too.
sidewalks everywhere.
thank you. That's what I tell them.
Eventually.
I will tell
It
you
may
this.
take 100 years, but you're going to have them.
I will tell you this, that this town is working on some granting issues, not,
Sidewalk improvements.
granting of sidewalks for the town. So they are coming because,
Since we're still on the zoning guy,
Yeah, sorry.
many years ago, and Norm Peck probably remembers this, because he's almost as ancient as I am, with all due respect. We had a local gadfly come in. The hell's wrong with you people? Making developers build sidewalks to nowhere. You people are nuts. You probably remember that guy. And we're like, look, eventually they'll leak up. It may take 20, 30, 50 years, but it's not at the town expense, it's at the developer's expense, and it's the right thing to do.
could have had sidewalks on both sides of Industrial Road, just so you know.
I've been pushing for sidewalks on Flanders Road for 15 years, seems to still fall on deaf ears.
They're coming.
Hopefully we'll get there. We have made some progress there over the years, but it has been a while since they've constructed anything.
Have they made progress down there at the Flanders down there with the, are they getting better about the state anyways, getting better about the stuff they were doing down there?
Yeah, I mean, they're almost done with the state's almost done with, they've got one more building, and I'm not so sure they're gonna tear that one down. I think they're looking for space to lease to run their 3-year operation for the rebuild of the bridge. And I think they were looking at Midway Mall. I don't know that there was enough space and parking for their activity, so they may save that building. They're not talking less, but I think they're gonna try to save the old restaurant at the old
Yep.
motel,
I thought they were
operate out of there.
Yeah.
That's my suspicion. It's logical, it makes common sense, and they haven't crushed it, so more than likely, which is fine. That's their decision. But they are at least moving along. I wish they'd get the mowers out, but apparently they're out of gas. Or something. But anyway, that's what I have tonight, thank you.
Everything's going electric nowadays anyway, so.
Unless you live in California, you can't plug it in because
I
there's
know.
no electricity.
Well, you need gas to make electricity anyway, but.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mulholland. Comments from the ex officio. Ms. Hardy's not here with us tonight. She is still in Maine. Comments from the zoning board liaison to planning, which is Ms. Thurlow, but
They canceled the meeting.
they canceled the
You
meeting.
got the Lucky Dog Award.
Plan
Yeah,
that.
I got it, and you got it.
Yeah. Comments from the chairman, myself. Other than that, I wish everybody great sleeping tonight because it's gonna be nice and cool.
Windows are open.
I would like to say one thing. Hold on, please. On October 6th, the Legion is going to be honoring their oldest member, and that is Mr. Dwyer.
Oh, nice.
By the
So-
way, it's an open bar and food provided, no tickets. You all invited.
Enough said.
Free.
Said open bar?
So it's October
We'll get a bus
6th.
to-
I believe it's from like
I'll do an agenda. We'll
4
get
to
a
6
bus,
or
we'll
something?
all go.
I will let everybody know again, but I just wanted
Not that
to
you drink, it's an open bar.
bring it up because Mr. Dwyer, as we all know, is only 36. So go from there. With that being said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.